Hi guys, just doing a wee pull-up video revisited, just to go over it again with in relation to how to use the box to maximise or maximise each rep you're going to be doing. So I'll just go over it quickly. Just remember, like if you think of all the exercises you're doing, squats, deadlifts, lunges, kettlebell movements, core work, pretty much everything, there's only one exercise that the majority of the people coming cannot do, and it's pull-ups. Okay, and that's because that's how hard it is. So I don't want you feeling downbeat or downcast if you can't do pull-ups. Most people can't do them. So I just wanted to sort of say that at the start, just to remind you that you're not in a minority if you cannot do them. And they are extremely difficult. They're one of the hardest exercises there is, much harder than squats, much harder than deadlifts, etc. Ultimately, they're all movements. All the exercises you do are movements. The benefit of free weights like squats and deadlifts and dumbbells and kettlebells is that you can select the weight. So if you're not strong enough to lift a certain weight, you simply perform the movement with a lesser weight, and then you can perform it with that weight until your body adapts and gets stronger, and so on. That's why pull-ups are so much harder, because you can't obviously do that. You can't, I mean, it'd be an ideal scenario in it. I'll just remove 10 kilograms from my body weight so I can do this movement. So we can't do that. So you have to that's why we're trying to find ways of making it more accessible and bridging the gap to eventually do full pull-ups. So that I found at the last block in particular, this box method worked really well for a lot of people. Not for everyone, and I'm going to quickly go over alternatives as well. So it kind of depends where you are on your pull-up journey, I guess. But with regards to the box pull-ups, what we're looking for, okay, is, like I said before, you want to make sure the riser height is appropriate to your height. So that's roughly your finish position here. So if the risers are too high and you're taller and you end up here, it's too much. You don't want to be way over the bar. Equally, if the risers are here and you're 5'4", then you're going to be way down here, which is not high enough. So you want to mimic a full range pull-up as close as you can. So you need to get the riser at appropriate height first of all, so that's your finish position about there, okay? So you don't need to be way over here, or I'm saying pull-up. Chin up, for all intents and purposes, chin up is when your palms are facing you. Pull-ups when they're facing the other way. And a chin up is a slightly easier movement, I find, for most people, at least to begin with, because it brings in the biceps a wee bit more. So it gives you a bit of assistance in that respect. Although oddly, I find that kids are better at the pull-up. Anyway, right, so what we're looking for, you're going to come up, you're going to lower yourself down. So I want to go over the loading phase in a wee second. So the idea here is, see at the very bottom, you're not dead hanging, right? Your ribs shouldn't be flaring out. It's not a relaxed position. You want to make sure you keep your core engaged, because that's what you do in a pull-up. So that sort of subtle pelvic tuck will help ensure as well that your lats stay engaged. Okay. So from there, obviously this is the bit that a lot of folk can't do. So you pull, try your best to initiate by pulling, okay, like here, but you also push through your legs, okay? So you use your legs as much as you have to. When you get to here, I want you to try and imagine you're lightening your feet. Maybe not lifting them off like that, but lightening them a wee bit, okay? And the reason for that is because you can use, you're stronger in the loading phase. Remember, we focused on doing these for a wee while, the lowering eccentrics. Your muscles are stronger in the lengthening phase, the eccentric phase, when your muscles are lengthening. So you won't need as much assistance on the way down as on the way up. So it's up to you to make sure that you're consciously trying to do that, so that you're forcing yourself to work harder and harder. Okay, so if you're relying too much in the box on the way down and you're kind of just going through the motions with it like this, then you're getting a decent wee bit of work on the concentric phase, the upwards phase, but not as much as you could be getting out of the loading phase. So I want you to really concentrate on this way on the way down, like try and imagine you're lifting your feet. You can even momentarily lift them off. Now, also the tempo, I'm doing this a wee bit slower on the way down than you need to. I'm doing it so I can kind of talk a wee bit as well. So another thing to think about on the way down, okay, I want to concentrate a bit more on the way down, because I feel as though that's where gains can be quite hard. And I want you to think about, like I said, you could try, depending on how close you are to doing a pull-up and how much control you've got over it, you could take your feet off here, okay, and then just place them back down at the bottom to go into the next rep, like this. Okay, so you could keep them off, and then when you get to the bottom, just gently place them down so that they can assist you in the next rep. Obviously it goes without saying that you also need to keep your knees bent so that you do a full range pull-up. So if you do pull-ups with your legs straight, it just means when you get to the bottom, obviously, look, you're standing up, you're only doing a half rep. The full rep has to be here. So the taller you are, the more you need to bend your knees, okay? So I'm hoping that makes a little bit of sense. You're using the box, but only as much as you have to. Use it less on the way down. This is why 5 reps is enough. If you're doing the reps properly, 5 reps is really tough, okay? For those that are kind of maybe already doing 1 or 2, I was talking to a couple of girls yesterday, on Tuesday, who said that they find the box holds them back a wee bit, which I completely understand. Because if you can do a few and you can always do more, it's very difficult to not overly rely on the box. But if you're still struggling to get closer to 1, it's almost essential you use the box. And even if you are relying on it, you're still getting a really good stimulus on the muscles, as long as you're trying to subtly think about or consciously think about using your legs less. So if you're already doing 1 or 2, you might not use the box at all. But let's suppose you've done your 2, so you can't do a third. So a few of the guys were saying that they just kind of, now again, they're maybe not as tall as me, so they weren't having to come all the way down like this. But you can just kind of let your feet give you a wee nudge up like that, and then back down, okay? And I get what they mean, because when I'm doing weighted pull-ups, especially the really heavy weighted pull-ups, this bar's not designed to take any more than a certain amount of weight, and I'm probably exceeding it a little bit and gambling with it slightly. It starts to strain. So I find that my first pull-up up, when I'm doing weighted ones, I kind of gradually release my weight off the ground to keep this more stable. And I think it's the same idea for someone who's not quite able to do a full pull-up and just wants a wee bit of assistance in that first one for stability as well as assistance. So it's almost like you're here and you're starting to pull, and you're just kind of using your toe just to push up a little bit, and then you come all the way down, you can control the way down, then back down, and again you're just kind of bumping it up. So you're just giving it a little bit of assistance, just what it needs to get past that initial sticking point. Okay, so that's just a couple of things I wanted to mention in regards to the pull-ups. Volume is key. You need to get, when you're doing max strength work, there's not a lot of reps, 3, 4, 5. So you need to be doing multiple sets, 4 or 5 sets. And the reason I'm saying I want you to aim for 5 extremely tough reps is if you're just constantly going to be doing sets of 8, okay, sets of 8, your body weight doesn't change like we mentioned at the start. Well, it doesn't change much. What I mean is, like, week to week it's not going to change much. So you're not going to see much progress if you just stick to doing 6, 7, 8 reps at your body weight all the time, because you're just going to do the same thing every week. You're just going to rely on the box as much as you can, and 8 reps is a big number of reps. So to see progress over that number of reps is going to take forever, and you won't really notice it, and it'll take a long time. So we're looking for subtle progressions for maybe so that one rep in 5 is a little bit easier than it was 2 weeks ago. That's how slow the progress with pull-ups is, but that's just the way it is, because it's one of the hardest exercises you can ever do. In the gym, it's harder than tricep dips as well, which are also really difficult. So it's hard, I understand it's hard. You just got to keep doing what you're doing, but you need to attack every session on pull-ups with purpose. You can't just go through the motions, just going up and down. You won't get anywhere. You'll just do the same thing for years. And I don't want you to do that. I want you to do pull-ups, and you will get them eventually, promise.